Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a truly monumental piece of art today, one that completely rewrites how we look at historical conflict. We're going to unpack the sheer visual power of Master Valen of Vilnius's absolute masterpiece, The Grinding of the Iron Ring at Dorwinion. And let me tell you, this isn't just a painting of a battle. It's a staggering, multi-layered experience. By the end of this, you're going to see exactly how a master artist takes the absolute literal chaos of war and structures it into something deeply meaningful. Okay, let's dive into this. Just take a second to absorb the sheer scale of what we're looking at here. This captures a pivotal, truly agonizing moment in the siege of Dorwinion. The immediate visceral shock of this piece, it's undeniable. I mean, you can practically hear the roar of those cannons and the clash of steel, right? But beyond that initial shock, there's this terrible sublimity to it. It's overwhelming, it's massive, and it forces us to look directly at the crushing weight of siege warfare.
And that brings us to a crucial point, which is perfectly captured here. Master Valen fundamentally breaks away from those deeply romanticized, glorious battle scenes you usually see in historical art. You know, the ones where shining heroes are effortlessly striking down foes? Yeah, there's none of that here. Instead, he elevates the grim, dirty, industrial mechanics of siege warfare into something deeply reverent and profoundly tragic. It's just a sobering, unflinching look at the reality of the battlefield.
Section 1. The Terrible Sublimity, Structuring Chaos.
To really get what's going on in this painting, we have to recognize that Valen isn't just randomly throwing paint on a canvas. He's actively organizing the chaos. It's literally a masterclass in visual structure. He does this by dividing the whole composition into 3 distinct tiers. So we're going to visually dissect this painting from the bottom all the way to the top and reveal exactly how he transforms pure, unadulterated chaos into a highly structured, readable masterpiece. Section 2. Tier 1. Relentless Advance. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is right down at the bottom left. Direct your eyes there for a second. Here we're seeing the disciplined, industrial might of the Gondorian army. Look at those towering pikes, and those uniform, heavy shields bearing the tree emblem. This isn't just a group of soldiers, right? This is a machine. This is the Iron Ring, slowly and methodically closing in. You can almost feel the heavy, synchronized thud of their boots in the mud. It's a terrifying display of mechanical military precision. Let's quickly break down those visual details. Valen shows us this Iron Ring of Gondorian military might through a relentless, incredibly disciplined heavy infantry advance. But look closely at what they're actually marching through. These are blood-soaked trenches. The ground right beneath their feet is this thick, crimson mud, literally a horrific mixture of rain, blood, and black powder. The sensory language he uses here is raw, it's dirty, and it's exhausting. It perfectly mirrors the grim mechanics of a siege. Section 3. Tier 2. Desperate Defiance. So, guide your eyes right up the canvas now into that chaotic middle ground on the right side. This is where the ordered, rigid lines of the Gondorian infantry crash into a completely chaotic, jagged breach in those massive stone walls. This right here, this is where the mechanical push meets the physical breaking point. And right at the pinnacle of that rubble stands the human element. That's King Lumber III, the Scion Defender, standing defiant, his sword raised, completely surrounded by a sea of blue armor. Notice how this specific detail personifies the entire struggle. Up against the gray, faceless iron hide of the Gondorian war machine, you get this vibrant flash of blue. It's desperate, it's raw, individual defiance. Section 4, Tier 3, The Burning City. Now look all the way up at that apocalyptic skyline looming in the background. The entire silhouette of Dorwinion is just engulfed in flames. And if you look out to the left, toward the distant sea, you can actually see a naval battle raging under this ominously dark, glowing sun. The destruction here is absolute. It's all-encompassing. These details are exactly what give the painting its incredibly claustrophobic feel. You've got the burning silhouette, a tragically collapsed cathedral on the right, which represents the fall of culture and sanctuary, that naval battle cutting off literally any hope of escape, and above it all, this suffocating ceiling of smoke. This top tier framed the whole composition. It just presses down on the soldiers below, sealing all that exhausting pressure of the siege into one fiery, inescapable box. Section 5. Chiaroscuro and Order, Lighting the Chaos. So how does he do it? Well, Master Valen uses a technique called chiaroscuro, Put simply, this is the bold use of contrasting light and dark to create a real sense of volume and dramatic effect. By mastering this technique, Violent takes a scene that really should be visually confusing. I mean, we're talking smoke, fire, thousands of soldiers, and he brings order to it. He guides our eyes exactly where he wants them to go. And this brilliantly illustrates the concept. Look at the specific interplay on the left side of the canvas. The bright, sharp orange of the cannon fire fiercely cuts right through the dark, murky grays and blacks of the smoke and powder. This stark contrast doesn't just look incredible, it creates visual anchors. It literally organizes the chaos for us, making the violence sharp, bright, and absolutely impossible to ignore. Section 6. Logistics versus Resolve, a Philosophical Clash. Ultimately, this painting isn't just about swords and shields, It's a profound meditation on a core ideological clash. On the left side, represented by the Gondorian army, we've got the impersonal machinery of statecraft. We're talking cold logistics, calculated plans, and raw industrial might. Then on the right, represented by King Lunga III and his men, we have the indomitable will of individual courage, human resolve, and desperate defiance. Valen manages to capture the exact agonizing moment where these two unstoppable forces collide. So at the end of the day, this is not a painting of victory. It is a painting of immense, exhausting pressure. It stands as the definitive visual record of an era that completely defined siege warfare. It reminds us that no matter the scale of the war machine, even the most calculated, cold plans must ultimately contend with the chaotic poetry of human defiance. We live in a world today that is increasingly driven by impersonal systems, algorithms, and calculated logistics, right? So I want to leave you with this thought as we wrap up this explainer. When you look at King Lumber III standing in that breach, how does that chaotic poetry of human defiance resonate with your own modern struggles? Something to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.